It's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Adife. Good morning, Steve.
Happy
good
Sunday, Mr. Komolafe.
Happy Sunday, OG.
Good morning. All right, KK, little time, but we'll go right into it. Yeah. We'll start with This Day, of course, but we'll also, at the same time, take a look at some of the other papers. Part of what we did yesterday was to look at the newspapers that led with the story, with the sad story of what happened in Sokoto. And if you look at some of the major headlines, cover pages of some of the newspapers today, starting with This Day, the lead story here says, to avert major religious riots, Tambuwal declares curfew as protests rock Sokoto. The riders there are telling, Khan calls for nationwide protest May 22. Kuka suspends Catholic masses, says residents not attacked. Rufai bans religious protests in Kaduna. Tears as Deborah is laid to rest in Niger. If you look at the other papers who also led with it, you see we can gauge the mood of the nation as far as this, sad event is concerned. Sunday Vanguard says, blasphemy killing, Sokoto boils, Kaduna warns against protest. While The Guardian says, mayhem in Sokoto over Deborah's murder. And The Punch says, Deborah's murder, Tambuwal imposes curfew. As protest, violence rocks Sokoto, presidential aspirants keep mum. Those will be first thing, that we'd like you to discuss. But then, of course, to take that with the other stories on the cover of This Day. And on top of the masthead, MBS, Nigeria's GDP rose 3.98% in Q4 of 2021. And on the window, SEC issues new guidelines on digital assets. The rider says mandates crypto exchanges to get commissions permit. IMF seeks new payment system to accommodate digital currencies. And one of the stories here says, APC, talking politics now, APC screens presidential aspirants May 23. And last but not the least, Malami Ngige denied tendering resignation letters as ministers. That's on page 5 of today's This Day. So, KK, many of the papers have Deborah Yakubu's story on the lead cover. That is what is plaguing Nigeria, as it were, as at today. Your comments, please.
Yeah, it's a sad day for the country again. The first thing to do really is to commiserate with the family of the poor girl, Deborah, and to wish that God rest her soul. It's also remarkable that with the crisis erupting in Sokoto, that the leaders, are actually taking the right steps. Look at the statement from the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto, Bishop Asan Matthew Kuka, the Sultan of Sokoto, and also, very important, the governor of Sokoto State, Governor Tambuwal, in imposing a curfew. Because what is important now is to stem, the tide of violence, from further spreading. Because you could see that already there are indications that, things could spread to Kaduna, and it is good that the government of Kaduna State is also already taking proactive steps. So at a time like this, it is important, for leaders, to try to calm the situation, while trying to deal with this, to ensure that, justice is done. But what is important is that, a situation like this, it calls for calm, and not for escalation, and that is why that it's important that various institutions, and also individuals, who are leaders, especially leaders of faith, should rise to the occasion and ensure, that we don't have the situation getting, worse for the whole country, because it is quite a very dangerous trend. It's quite a very dangerous trend. It's always been known, to everybody, that one of the most inflammable, fault lines that we have in this country, is that of religion, So this is a time, that calls for a calm, as well as for leaders, in particular, to actually play their role and ensure, that we don't have a degeneration, of the situation. Yeah.
The curfew that has been imposed by the governor, do you think that it will help at all?
Definitely, it will help, and it's also important to also remark in this, the role of security forces, in moving, swiftly, yesterday in particular, to ensure that, things, did not, didn't, get worse, I mean, what happened yesterday in Sokoto, was bad,
Yes.
But if the security forces, had not risen to the occasion, perhaps the story could have been worse. So we need to also commend the security forces and to also call on them to ensure that, everybody, every abiding person in Sokoto, is protected, and to ensure that we'll put an end, to this.
Yes. And to also note that she was buried yesterday. She is from Niger State.
Yeah.
And,
so we commiserate, with our family.
Yeah, so rest in peace.
Amen.
There are two political stories there, KK. Yes. The APC president, moving the screening forward, and then the ministers saying that they never resigned. What's going on?
Mr. Kola,
That is the question.
This is
What is going on?
Major question here. Now, that valedictory session that President Muhammadu Buhari held on Friday, we're told, or there's an allegation that ministers had resigned on that day. Now we're seeing Malami and Ngige saying that, they did not tender their resignation. Steve, on the other hand, is saying that if it was a farewell session, it's like the president saying goodbye to the ministers. And how is it possible that these ministers are coming out to say this now?
What we should look at is this. These people were not elected by Nigerian people.
Absolutely.
They are appointed by the
president.
So the ball is squarely in the court of the president. Yes, he's the one who appointed them. He's the one who held the valedictory session. So in the coming days, we'll know what we do. I think, seriously speaking, it's the business of the president. So we'll look onto the president to what he will do. He appointed them.
The president already said that I will replace them, in no time.
That's what I'm saying. That we should watch out what the president will do, because at the end of the day, it is prerogative, on what happens. He appointed them, he gave them the job, and he is in position to determine whether they have resigned.
But Falana is saying it's illegal if they have tendered their resignation for them to withdraw that resignation letter and say, oh, no, they are no longer interested in their political ambition, they're still in power. He's saying that
it was accepted.
Illegal, yeah.
Does it matter? I'm actually happy you brought that up, because it's the issue that they tendered a resignation and it was accepted, and they're now wanting to get their jobs back, or is it that once you've tendered a resignation, you can't go back on that?
That's what Falana is saying.
That's what Falana is saying, and I think, KK, that it's about logic and sense. The president appointed you. You are there at the pleasure of the president, and if he says that I'm aware that you are running for office, you will have to resign. It's a given that he's saying that you will have to leave. He's not saying consider it whether you want to proceed with your quest or not. And therefore, he invited them, took pictures with them. 9 of them, only one did not attend. And that one has even formally resigned, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if the president is saying that you have a political ambition and that I am sending you off, you can return and then go to the permanent secretary and say, where's the key to my office? You're out of that office already. In my opinion.
That is why I say that, the ball is at the court of the boss. It's the president who appointed them. So let us see in the next few days what
it has to be by tomorrow.
Yeah, what the president will do. Yeah. And as for this screening of the presidential candidates by APC, I think one particular one that we should take interest in is that of Dr. Adesina. Because the question is that, is he a member of the party? Then two, we also know that he's president of AFDB, you know, I think the governance structure, you know, of AFDB has its own ethics, you know, and there are rules. You know, so again, are we? I mean, is it? I mean, are we sure that he is also, you know, I mean, complying, you know, with the rules? Because I mean, one of the rules, you know, that I try to read it up is that, you know, if you are president of AFDB, you know, you should not, you know, take any partisan position, you know, in the affairs of any of the members, you know, of the.
Has he said reports from yesterday that he has submitted his form.
The form was purchased for him, and it has been submitted. But we do not only as we don't know.
We still haven't heard from him.
Because it might turn out to say that, you know,
yes, because I not make a declaration.
Exactly.
Yes. But if, I mean, it's been reported that the form has been bought in his name.
Yes.
And like Oji said, it has been submitted, you know. Yes. So I think it's a matter of, I mean, for him to actually, you know, speak
either acknowledge it.
Exactly. Or deny.
Because if he keeps quiet, we won't know anything until May 23rd, when the screening exercise will happen. And if he doesn't show up, then we know that he has only 100 million has just been donated to the party on his behalf.
Yes.
Do you understand? But if he shows up for the screening, then questions will arrive. When did you join the party?
Right.
What is the governance structure in AFDB? You know, and then will you just sneak in on us and not tell us your plans?
This is the issue.
And for that, there are huge ethical issues, you know. And don't forget the problem, you know, that arose, you know, for his, I mean, for him to have a second term, you know. I mean, there were a lot of ethical issues that were, they were raised then, you know. And but they were just lucky that at the end of the day, you know. It was exonerated.
Even the vociferous attack, shall we say, or reluctance of the American government in having him to return.
That is the point I'm referring to. You know, and that if you try to check, you know, the rules, you know, of the board of AFDB, you know, I am not quite sure. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not quite sure that is on a terra firma, you know, I mean, to be engaging in what he's doing. But again, like Steve said, in the next few days, you know, when the screening is done, it will be clear. But I think it's actually a matter, you know, that should interest, you know, the public.
And do we have anything on this style for today?
Very quickly, Bookie George Taylor, who calls herself the PR expert, has turned 40 and is on the cover of This Day Style. And it is, as always, a very interesting interview and inward look into her life. As I said, I've heard of Bookie quite a few years ago, and when it pertains to the social scene in Lagos, her being, as she says, a PR expert, organizing and curating events. So she sat down with Konye Chelsea Wagbogo, our very own, the editor of This Day Style, for this fitting piece on her birthday and what she has achieved in her life so far.
Amazing. Happy birthday, Bookie.
Happy birthday to Bookie.
Yes.
Brilliant.
All right.
All right, Tiff.
Thank you so much, KK. As always, we apologize that it was a short one today.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Have a pleasant day.
See you on Sunday.